Good morning, good evening, whatever time of day it is for you. Welcome to this thing that I do called Thor's Entertainment. I am Thor, and this is going to be another Fatal Friday video. And that makes this video part of my series where I try to earn fatalities and brutalities in the Kombat League for Mortal Kombat 1. This week I am trying to complete all the finishers for the cameo character Frost. Now I have already earned her fatality and one of her brutalities, leaving just one brutality to go. That final brutality is her iced out brutality. To get that, we have to be at jumping distance away from the enemy and deplete the enemy's health while freezing them with Frost. To make that happen, I am pairing Frost with the main fighter Reptile. Also, while we are trying to get that brutality, this is actually going to be my first recorded mirror match with Reptile. Only the opposing Reptile is going to be using a different cameo fighter. Theirs is Darrius.
Take one. Action!
I don't think I have ever tried combining Darrius and Reptile before, so there is really almost nothing I can add to the commentary about that. Like, there's really not too much insight that I can provide on that pairing regarding the setups, the combo extensions, just things like that. I really don't know what would be good with Reptile and Darrius. In fact, with Reptile, I've only ever paired him up with Frost and Serena when going into the Kombat League. Although I do feel like Scorpion and Striker as cameo fighters would be pretty handy for Reptile too. And despite having used Frost with Reptile to include in this video, I really don't think she is that great for Reptile. But I do think Frost would be fantastic for Natara, but that is 100% based on how I play that character, so maybe not necessarily Natara's best cameo fighter, but I think she's pretty good for her. So yeah, if I had to do this over again, I'd probably also get Frost paired up with Natara for one of these videos. I just happened to only get all of Frost's finishers with the Reptile pairing. Also, this video is one of 3 recordings I still have from Season 1, so I'm getting pretty close to being completely done with Season 1 for the Kombat League, and then I can actually move forward with Season 2 and get closer and closer to being up to date. And since this is a mirror match, I guess it's worth mentioning that I tend to lose track of which character is mine whenever I'm using the same character as somebody else and the costume is very similar. Like in this fight, I think I lost track of which Reptile was mine. Now I know there is a costume color difference between these two reptiles, but sometimes I just glance at the character's silhouette instead of looking at the color of the individual. So yeah, it doesn't even register in my brain that one of them is not mine. I just go with the one that I think I'm controlling, and then suddenly the buttons I'm pushing are not actually doing anything on the screen. Then I'm like, ah, crap, that's why I'm getting hit right now, isn't it? Alright, this person is going to live through Frost freezing them, but that's okay. We can go ahead and get a different brutality and then go for the iced out brutality in the next fight. So yeah, that's also one of the reasons I don't shuffle costumes between matches for my characters either. While I think it's cool to get to see different costumes for your characters, I like to have the same one so I can very quickly identify which character is mine in the event of a mirror match. And that might be mostly just paranoia. I feel like I would just constantly mix up which reptile was mine if I was constantly changing his costume. But enough about the cosmetic differences between my reptile and this person's reptile. Let's go ahead and talk about this brutality just a little bit. This brutality is one that I can't really combo into due to the distance requirement. So I have to be at a good distance away from the opponent, and since I can't combo into it, I need to use the freezing attack to kill them in one hit. And since that attack is super weak, the person has to already be very nearly dead. So yeah, this is not the easiest brutality to get, but it's definitely not too bad either. Like, even if you're at full screen and you try to freeze the individual and it just doesn't do enough damage whenever it hits them, depending on your cameo gauge, you can always just do the freeze one more time and that should do the trick. I don't know, I just think this one's kind of more forgiving than some of the other brutalities that also require you to hit the individual at a very long distance, and the attacks tend to be a little bit weaker. In comparison to some of the other ones matching that description, this one's really not that bad. Like, off the top of my head, Serena, who is also a cameo fighter, has a brutality that's kind of similar with its requirements. And that one I believe is the Release Demon brutality, and that's the one where Serena throws a single knife at the opponent. And if you are at jumping distance and you hold down the right button, it will decapitate the enemy. But again, that is a very weak attack, so the opponent needs to be very close to dead if you're going to just use that one attack and then try to get the brutality. And more than likely that is going to be the case because since there is a distance requirement, it's not something that you can really reasonably combo into. Like maybe if you're Sub-Zero, you can freeze the enemy and then throw out Serena's knife and get it. That's technically a combo because it's 2 hits, but for most characters in this main roster, that's just not really going to happen. And I would say that Frost getting this brutality is probably easier than Serena getting that brutality. Another comparable brutality, and I can't think of the name of it, but it is the brutality version of Natara's Bloody Bolt attack. Yeah, that one is much harder than both of those brutalities I described a moment ago for Serena and Frost. That one has a few different requirements, but similarly, it's a projectile attack. You have to do it jumping distance. It doesn't do a whole lot of damage. It does more damage than the 2 attacks I'm trying to describe for Serena and Frost, but it's also much slower and much more reactable, so the odds of you getting it are not great. So with those 2 examples to go off of, I really don't think that Frost's brutality is anywhere near as bad as those other 2. Especially Natara's. Alright, I can punish his fatal blow, but I have to be careful not to deplete too much of his health because I do still need to land the freeze. And alright, his health is super low. Let's go ahead and go for the brutality.
Brutality. Reptile wins.
Alright, we did it. That was the brutality. Let's go ahead and close out the next fight of this set and get this episode completed.
Take 1. Action.
So yeah, after that we have actually accomplished every single Frost-related finisher for Mortal Kombat 1 up to this point. That puts her in the same club as Serena, who in my previous videos for Fatal Friday has also accomplished every single one of her finishers. So yeah, that's 2 cameo characters completed and a bunch more to go. Now the videos have not dropped yet because I have a crazy long to-do list and a backlog of videos that I have to add some commentary to. But there are other cameo fighters that I have completed as well. And I guess let's go ahead and get those out there for some anticipation. Those cameo fighters are Kung Lao and Scorpion. So eventually they too are going to have their own videos up on Fatal Friday, and we're going to see me completing those as well. Another cameo fighter that I have put a good dent into but have not completed is the cameo Sub-Zero. I have his fatality and one of his brutalities, but I do not have his second brutality yet. Eventually I will get around to it, but right now the fighters I am using, the main roster characters, none of them are really using Sub-Zero. Fortunately for Sub-Zero though, he's a pretty versatile character. And by versatile I mean he can freeze the enemy, and that's pretty much useful regardless of what character you are using in the roster. So since he meshes with pretty much everyone, I am sure I will not have trouble breaking him out again whenever the time comes to get that final brutality.
Reptile wins.
And we did it. We got back-to-back iced out brutalities from Frost. And that means we have performed every single finisher for Frost that is available to her at this time. Now I am voicing this over during Season 3 for Mortal Kombat 1, so if they do end up adding more brutalities, fatalities, just really any finishers at all after this, just know that whenever I'm recording this, I completed everything that was available. But yeah, that was the iced out brutality. I'll go ahead and show it again one more time at the end of this outro. But yeah, that is about all I'm going to have to show for this Fatal Friday video. I just hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoy future videos as well. Thank you for watching. This has been Thor's Entertainment. I am Thor. Take care, and I will see you next time.
Reptile wins.